Wushi, endgame combo unit used by the Sweats of Blackbeacon. You've seen it, them clearing the hardest content with just a Wushi and a couple level 1 supports or a sub DPS. Impossible, you say, but I've unlocked the secret that can let you pull off the same crazy combo shenanigans as them, albeit maybe not to quite the same extent. I've reduced this incredibly fast, incredibly complex kit to its most basic components. I'm Shrike, subscribe for more gacha content. Before we get into the meat of his kit, let's build him. He is a straightforward DPS of the dark element, squishy but incredibly high potential damage output, so you'll want to go attack primarily since he's a 4-star and has low base attack, and then crit rate and crit damage, followed by pierce if you have room. And the game recommends Endless March and Terracotta General since he uses a lot of chase damage in his kit, and I think that's a good idea. Then most people throw a Jade Crane on him because his ultimate damage is actually pretty high. And actually, if you set his marks up like this, you can fit a Shining Star in there too, so bonus. You will need to use some 1-pieces, but it's not a problem. You get that extra 5-piece bonus, so it's worth it. Alright, his basic attack is a 4-hit combo, and don't ignore it. This is a character that makes liberal use of his basic attack. His skill 1 is the bread and butter of his kit. The most important thing to know about this is that this is the skill 1, that drops the blade onto the ground, which is what he wants to be doing. Once 2 blades are on the ground, that's what forms that black line you see when fighting him as a boss or when you're mashing buttons with him. His skill 2 does 2 things, well more, but 2 main things. First, it teleports you to the enemy and smashes down onto them. And it also marks them, so that later his blades kind of seek out the target with the mark. It's a way to sort of designate a preferred target. This skill won't be used much, and really only in boss battles, and not even very often there. His ultimate is your typical DPS ult, does a ton of damage, and it's a solid game plan to build it up fast and use it. His combos and the right marks will help it accumulate quickly. His passive basically says that when 2 of his blades are on the ground, they'll smash together, dealing damage to whoever it hits and putting some different marks on them, different from the skill 2 mark. It also changes his skill 2 at some point so that instead of a teleport, it becomes a dash through the enemy, triggering those new marks. This part isn't necessary, and during the combat section I'll explain the basic version of his combo and the intermediate version, which uses the dash. And bear in mind, of course, there's an expert version which I won't go into, but there are videos out there from people that understand his kit much more than I do. If you're looking for an advanced Wushi guide, I encourage you to check one of those out. So as for priorities, you'll actually want to focus on his passive and his skill 1 first, followed by his basic attack and then his ultimate. And lastly, his skill 2 and combo. Like I said, you won't really be using his skill 2, and when you do, it'll really only be to mark the enemy, which doesn't scale with level, or to activate the enemy's other marks, whose power comes from his passive and not the actual skill 2 itself. Okay, get ready. Combat time. Here is Wushi completely stripped down, don't get excited, to as basic as I could get. Skill 1 to activate his 4-hit combo, pause and wait for the basic attack to glow, then hit basic. This will dash you through the enemy to the other side of them, where you'll skill 1 again. So skill 1, pause, basic attack, skill 1. This will drop a blade, pass through the enemy and drop another blade, making them smash together and damage the enemy. The blades here will be dealing chase damage, so if you use that mark, this is where the damage is going. This is a perfectly functional combo for Wushi, and if that's as far as you want to go, that's fine. But we can get fancier without it being overwhelming, I think. If we want to add a skill 2, remember how I said it teleports and marks the enemy? It is a good way to get into the thick of things very fast. A good opener in my opinion. So we're outside a battle and we don't feel like running up to them. That's way too basic and we're not about that life. So we skill 2, teleport above them and smash down. Now that the enemy is marked, we can do our basic combo. Skill 1, wait, basic, then skill 1 again. And then we get the hell out of there by holding skill 2, which has now changed, and dashing through as many enemies as we can. Because this final dash will actually draw all the marks and blades and stuff through the enemies to us, damaging everybody in the process. If we hold down skill 2 prior to this step, it's a radius that we can choose exactly where to teleport to. But once it changes, it becomes a straight line dash that brings hell with it. And then you're outside the fight and you can just skill 2 back in and rinse and repeat until they die or your ult comes up. So let's review. Core combo is dagger drop, phase through the enemy, dagger drop. So skill 1, pause, basic, skill 1. And the dagger smash will happen on its own, you don't need to do anything. Once you're ready to level up, we can add a skill 2 to the beginning and the end of this combo. Skill 2 to get in, skill 1, dagger drop, pause, basic, skill 1, dagger drop. They smash together, hold skill 2 and dash out, mayhem following in your wake. That's skill 2, skill 1, basic, skill 1, skill 2. It's a skill palindrome, same backwards as it is forward. If that's too complicated though, stick with skill 1, basic, skill 1. Work your way up to skill 2. And then you can incorporate some dodge counter attacks and additional basic attacks here and there. The ceiling really is very high for this character. Or if the basic combo is still too confusing for you, do this. Alternate mashing skill 1 and basic attack. That should pretty much make most of his gimmicks happen in the background without you needing to think about it. But if I'm being honest, there are better options if you just want a button mash than using a combo character with this much to his kit. Unless of course you just like the character, in which case who am I to tell you not to. As for teams, a popular one for Wushi is Viola and Ninsar. My Ninsar isn't built and I don't have Viola, so I really can't tell you why this team is popular, but it is. Probably Ninsar for the shields though, and Viola is supposedly a good sub DPS that doesn't require much on-field time. A general team comp rule for him is that crowd control will be very important. Since Wushi is very single target focused, you'll want an option if you start to get swarmed by mobs. For this reason, and because I think the Link mechanic could be very interesting with a hard-hitting single target DPS, I think Ming could be a solid teammate for him. Good AoE, but she lacks the control. It's also possible that Nana could be a good sub DPS for him, doubling up on that dark anomaly. I think I would pair them with Hefe in this particular team. I don't see any anomaly team that doesn't want Hefe in it. She's just too good. Plus the only real anomaly booster we have at the moment. Ching will be an AoE stasis or water unit, so I could see them together, but that's 2 DPS, so the synergy might not be there. What we really need is just an AoE water support unit, since stasis seems to be the only real crowd control we have. There's no stun, no gathering type mechanic. Maybe if wind gets added as a future element. Oh, or Chronos. It could sort of freeze or slow time. It would have to be different enough from stasis though. But I digress. More generally speaking though, Wushi is the DPS of the team, so pair him with a healer or shielder, cause he's squishy, and then either an offensive support or a sub DPS. Zero comes to mind because of the crit damage buff, but get creative. On that note, I was finally able to 3-star the final stage of Trial of Prophecy using Licha and Wushi, with Hefe as my only healer. I'll admit everyone barely survived. It was kind of an all or nothing team, but it worked. And with that being said, I hope this was helpful. This guy was tough to get a handle on. Probably my toughest guide yet. But I'm gonna fly now. See you in the next one. Bye.